So one thing I wish I would have known when I was younger and also throughout my entire life, I don't even know if it would be considered knowing, but it is the feeling of your body as a man. And what I mean by that is actually being able to feel all of the parts of your body, not with your hands. Not a lot of men feel themselves a lot, but in a very specific way. That's not, to me, not that specific way would take a lot of power from me. But what I'm saying is being able to feel your toes, being able to feel your feet on the ground, being able to feel all the aspects of your body, and then being comfortable with it. And you might think that this is not a big deal. In fact, it's funny, as I created this channel, the ultimate goal of this channel was to help men to be successful in business, relationships, life, etc. And the more that I look at who are the ones who are successful in life, not just in business, because I know a lot of people who are very wealthy who are not, they do not know how to keep good relationships. They don't trust necessarily themselves, and so they put a lot of their faith in their money. I was one of those guys where I would always have this sense that if I made this amount of money, everything would be fine, everything would be great, and nothing would come crashing down. However, I'd start making that amount of money, and what do you think happened? Well, the bar would go up, and I'd think to myself, well, if I made this much, then I'd be able to invest in these cash flow assets, and I'd be able to have this as a annuity, and this as royalty, and this as whatever coming in, and then I wouldn't have any worries whatsoever. Yet again, I'd make that much, I'd be able to invest in those different things, and what happened? The bar went higher, and the pain actually became even greater. The pain of loss of the expectation of loss, the pain of not having enough, not being enough, the pain that everything could be taken away at any point in time. Because if it wasn't taken away economically, maybe my house would burn down, or maybe there would be some California regulation that would stop me from being able to have my well on my land, and now I have to get rid of my well and be on city, tied to the city, and I don't want that, and I want to go over here so I have freedom, so maybe we'll move to Montana, and then Montana, whatever it might be. It would always be something. And it wasn't until I started to investigate ways where I was no longer all in my head, which a lot of men suffer from. And there's nothing wrong with being in your head. I'm not saying that. I'm in my head a lot. There are times when you want to be in your head, when you're strategizing, when you're at the gym and you are thinking about your next business move or your next goal or next whatever it might be. But there are times where you need to fully feel everything about you. You need to be able to feel your entire body. Obviously, this goes for women. I'm specific to men on this channel. Obviously, women, you'll get advice with this too, but I don't think it affects women nearly as much, because women are taught from a very young age, especially with their menstruation cycle and so on, to be in tune with their body, to feel what their body's feeling, and that it's a good thing and it's not bad. There's not a stigma with it at all. For men, to be in your body and to feel is kind of like being a hippie, and it's seen, maybe not fully consciously, but it's seen as a That's what the yoga guys do, that wear spandex and talk very feminine and are kind of like suspicious. But in reality, men, when you look at the strongest men of history, not only were they physically strong, but when they spoke in a way that you could tell it was 100% authentically them. Now, I know that this is a fictional character, but Prince Edward, I believe, from Shakespeare's, why am I drawing a blank now? The St. Crispin's Day speech. There's been a lot of movies done around that speech. And when you hear that speech, and especially when you see an actor who plays that character give the St. Crispin's Day speech, then you start to see somebody who is authentically them, not just in words, but in body. The movie 300. Obviously, these guys are muscle-bound guys. But the way that the actors portrayed the words that came out of their mouth and then the actions associated with those words, you felt that everything that they did and said was authentic. So when they went to their death, they authentically went to their death. When they went to war, they authentically went to war. They were the epitome of masculine essence. But it wasn't just because they had ripping muscles and they had long spears and swords and things like that. It's because I know it's a movie, but movies are based on reality. You will not believe a movie. You will not suspend your disbelief if it feels fake. We all know what it feels like when somebody is a bad actor. You just can tell. But when it's done well, it's mimicking nature. It's mimicking reality to a T. And so these guys are fully masculine, fully in their body, fully authentically them. I could not, and it didn't matter who I talked to, if I put them on a pedestal in any way, male, female, did not matter. Did not matter age, did not matter whatever. If I put them in a pedestal in any way, shape, or form, I would lose sense of my body. And if that's you, you know what I'm talking about. I would not feel my feet on the ground. I immediately would shoot up into my head and start planning the words I'm going to say. I would start strategizing how I would say them. And then afterward, when I'd flub it up all the time, which it was inevitable, I would go back into my head and beat myself up. That same thing goes for business. That same thing goes for relationships. That same thing goes for spirituality. That same thing goes for anything that is good, true, and beautiful. When you start embodying and start feeling yourself, feeling your actual entire self, your entire body, from the toes of your feet to the hairs on your head, you'll start to feel things true. You'll start to feel things false. You'll start to, before even words come to your mouth, feel what to say, feel what to do, and you'll be in this state of flow. And I know I harp on this type of stuff a lot, but it's because when you get down to the nitty-gritty of success in any area of life, did I have something in teeth? I feel like I have something in my teeth. I just ate. any area of life, you will find that when somebody, even if they're just successful with money, when somebody's successful with money, it's because they internally feel successful with money. Their body feels successful with money. If they lose it all, their body doesn't go into fight or flight. They don't go straight into their head. Their body says, we've been here before. We know how to make money. It's not that big of a deal. Let's start figuring something out. Body, let's start taking some action. Let's start doing the things that we need to do. There are some really cool, I don't have the links to them. I don't have them, but I've seen YouTube videos of millionaires who will give up everything for a few months and go flat broke out on the streets. And then from having zero money, they will get back to being a millionaire. Now, is that because they have better skills than you, because they grew up rich, or they have anything special? No. It's because their body, their entire nervous system feels wealthy. And when they go from being wealthy to nothing, their body goes, yeah, this isn't us. And their subconscious goes, yeah, that's not us. Let's figure this out. And we'll literally figure out ways and bend reality to make them wealthy again. The same goes on the opposite side. Your subconscious and your body are tied to each other. This is why when you see people who say that they can't find a good relationship, can't find a good man, can't find a good woman, can't find, like, there are no good women, there are no this, there are no that. They don't find them. Why? Because their body says it's not possible. So when they are around a good woman or around a good man, their body literally rejects that person. Will literally, in some fashion or not, which way is this? Whoop, there we go. In some fashion or another, will reject that person. It might be immediate, it might be in a few months, it might be in a few years. But we'll find a way to reject that person if they don't embody something else and they don't feel in their body and their subconscious something else. So when I'm saying feeling in your body, there is the actual feeling aspect of being able to feel your body in the situations that you want to be in. If you don't feel like you're rich and you're around a bunch of rich people, your body is going to feel uncomfortable and you're going to go into your head. But if you feel like you're rich and you embody that, even if you don't have the money at the time, you will be fine in their presence. And that's why when I would go to these groups that I'd pay like $100,000 a year for to be a part of, some people there were 9, 10 figure entrepreneurs who were like friends with people like Tony Robbins and big name folks. And yet I'm 100% comfortable because my self-concept was not always like this. Years and years and years ago, this was not the case. But when I learned to embody and to imagine myself being that person, my body started taking that in, and my friend group consists of people who make way more money than I do and people who make way less money than I do. And yet, there's no discomfort in any of those groups because learn to embody that, whether it's through my imagination and feeling it, doing body exercises like breath work, to start feeling every aspect of your body. So start feeling what your toes feel like on the ground. Start doing breath work like I've shared a couple of different times in different videos. start doing things that could get you inside of your body. Even if it's talking to somebody that's intimidating, one thing that I would do is I would actually let them know that I was intimidated. I'd even say, look, I'm shaking as I'm talking to you. Didn't matter who it was. If I was intimidated and I was shaking and I was trying to be a certain way, I would literally tell them, look, I'm shaking when I'm talking to you. I am super nervous. And what would happen is they would say something more often than not, be like, oh yeah, no, you don't have to be nervous. No. And they would just talk, and they would calm me down, and I would be able to feel my body. I'd make note, like, oh, okay, now I can start feeling my body. Now, I don't think there's anybody I'm ever nervous around. And that's not saying that's a good thing, but the idea is that I can always feel my entire self, physically, energetically, everything. And so that's a super important tool to have as a man, so that you can start embodying the person who you want to be. So if I ever start sharing things about different business ideas and so on, they don't fall flat. You can take them and go, how's that feel? Am I a drop shipper? Am I this? Am I that? What should I do for business? And I give some advice. You're able to embody that. Because there are a lot of people who get good advice from great entrepreneurs. They're not able to implement them. They'll try the first week, they get punched in the face by a supplier, or they get punched in the face by a client or whatever, figuratively, and they quit because their body says, yeah, this is not for me. I should go back to the corporate world, or I should go back to whatever, right? So start feeling your body, start learning how to embody things. The easiest way to start is with your imagination, first person, embodying the person who you want to be, and then do practices like breath work and things like that. All right, you can do this. Start feeling. Stop being in your head, just in your head. Be both in your body and in your head and everything in between.